Okay, so let's talk about 7 or so key, really important sales questions you want to ask every time you meet with a potential branding client, or really any kind of creative service client that you might want to work with. So the first question you want to most definitely ask them every single time is why now? If you ask a client why now, what it essentially gets them to tell you, and what it does, it gets them to sell themselves on why now is a good time to work with you. The other good thing about it is if you ask why now, and then at the end they say, well, now's not the right time, you can actually call them up on it and say, well, at the start you said now is a good time because as things changed for you, right? Another way to ask that is, why is now a great time to be looking at your brand, whatever it might be, and not in 6 months' time? Why are we talking now and not in 6 months' time about this? Why is this an important thing to solve now and not in 6 months' time? That centers the conversation and creates urgency, because what you want really from all your clients is to create urgency and tension in that conversation. So the second question you want to ask is, why us? I always ask, why us? Why me? Why do you want to talk to me about this? What made you open to talking to me about this? Because then it gets them to sell themselves on you. Now, people have said to me in the past, you want them to say yes a lot, right? Which is, not really true anymore. The old way of selling would be you'd get people to say yes, yes, yes a lot. And perhaps there's some merit in that because it gets them in the mode of saying yes. But what we're trying to do with these two questions, why now and why me, is to get them to sell themselves on why now is a good time to work on this, and why you're the right solution to work with. Why now and why me are the first two. The third question I always ask is, what was the trigger for you? What's going on in your business that made you want to talk to me today? And they might say, well, we were ready for a change. Or they might say, well, we felt like we've outgrown what we've got. They might say we felt our brand was getting old, or perhaps, our website was getting a bit dated. If they say that, I always go deeper and I say to them, okay, but can you tell me a bit more about that? Did something happen in particular that made you want to talk? Because what you'll get a lot is these surface level reasons to work or to talk to you, right? Which is, we felt like we needed a change. So what, right? We felt like things were getting a bit stale. So what? Those are surface level things, and they're easy to, kind of pass over, right? So I always like to say to the client or the prospect, yeah, but can you tell me more about that? And generally they'll say, well, actually we had a comment we've had some comments from clients about it, or we've had a drop in sales, or things have changed, or someone new's come into our market and we want to compete with them. So if you ask them again, and this is a great rule in any sales conversation when you're selling creative work, ask the same question again, or ask the client to dive a bit deeper. Can you tell me a bit more about that? Because if you do that, if you ask that question, you'll find that clients give you the real reason and the deeper reason. And we want to go below surface level. So what was the trigger for you to talk to me today? Can you tell me a bit more about that? Make sure you get down to a real reason that they wanted to talk to you. Now, 2 other questions, and I'm just having a look at my notes here to make sure I remember all of them. Number 1, a little bit later in the conversation, you want to ask them 2 questions. You want to uncover 2 key things. Number 1, what happens if nothing changes? What happens if things stay the same? What's the consequence for you if we don't do anything? It's another way of asking, why is this an important problem to solve, right? But we want to find out for them what's the real reason they need to act. How is it affecting their business? How is it affecting their cash flow, their reputation, growth? So we want to find out what happens if nothing changes. What's the bad thing? What's going to happen to your business over time? Because you'll find that clients will sometimes just come to you with a real positive idea. I want to work on my brand or my website because I want to make more money, want to get more clients, I want to do great things this year, I want things to change, right? And we go, great, that's all good. But oftentimes it's not enough motivation for them to actually act. So I always want to find out what happens if we don't act. What's the consequence for you if nothing changes? It's the 4th question. You ask that a bit later on in the meeting, but as a rule of thumb, you need to establish what's the bad thing that happens if nothing happens, if they don't work with you. Because your biggest challenge when you're talking to clients is the status quo. The biggest challenge for you will be clients who go, You're a little bit more expensive than I thought, so I'll think about it. I'm kind of on the fence, but not quite ready because it's more expensive than I thought. I'm going to think about it. It's easy for your clients to stay in that status quo mode of let's do it later. If we ask them, what happens if nothing changes? What's the bad thing that happens for you if things stay the same? Why is this an important problem to solve? Then you'll get the real reason why it's important to solve it. Okay? And they'll say, we're losing money. We want to change things. We want to make sure this launch goes right. We want to make sure that whatever it might be, right? So what's the consequence? Next, we want to ask them, what's the benefit to you and your business if we can make this work? What's an ideal outcome look like for you? How would that affect your business? What's the benefit for your business and what's the benefit for you? If we can do this, then we establish the logical, which is what's the benefit for the business, and the emotional, what's the benefit for them. So we got consequence, we've got benefit. The last three questions here are questions you might ask at the end of the call to make sure that they are on the same page as you. Some people would call them a soft close. I don't like to call them a soft close because I think that kind of sounds a little bit lame. But three questions you ask are, number one, how do you feel about everything we've discussed? How do you feel about all that? So when you've kind of gotten to the point where you're about to present your idea and pitch, as it were, I always ask the client, how do you feel about all that? The reason I ask that is because you want an emotional response, and generally what you'll hear is, well, it's a big problem, we need to solve this, or it's really important, I'm so glad we talked today about this, and now I want to know how to solve it. So how do you feel about everything we've discussed? You want to ask them, after you've explained your solution, and they say, yes, it all sounds good, I ask them two questions. How does that sound for you? How does that all sound for you? How does that feel for you? Yeah, it feels good. And then I ask them a second question, which is there anything that would make you hesitate to go ahead? Is there anything you're unsure of or that would make you hesitate? I ask them those two questions. Then I ask them a third question, which is the one that most designers skip over, and we don't want to do this. I ask them, would you like to go ahead? Would you like to go ahead with this? The next steps for us are, because if we don't ask that closing question, we're going to miss out on sales. And if we don't ask them for that commitment then, especially if you can give them a price, you're going to miss out on sales. And by the way, if you can't give them a price, I always try and ballpark it and say it's between X and Y. How does that sound? Based on all that, would you like to go ahead? I'll refine the pricing for you, but based on that, does it all feel good for you? How does that sound? Would you like to go ahead? So it's the questions you ask that get the responses from the clients, the questions you miss out on that mean you miss out on sales. So I hope those questions were helpful for you. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And if you want to check out more stuff like this, you can follow our channel, or you can check out at Hayden Picture on Instagram for more short form stuff as well. Hope that was helpful. Leave a comment below if it was, and have a beautiful day. Good luck. See you soon.